So the topic today is referencing styles and literature search. I've just changed the title slightly from reference styling to referencing styles, which is more accurate. So this was my brief biodata, which Manali was kind enough to introduce me with. Thanks so much. I'd like to give a small introduction to the foundation that I'm heading. It's a unique change-making NGO, and how does it be unique and change-making? What we do is this. We are doing skill building in online searching and referencing, two areas which are very, very important for anybody in the health sciences, but mysteriously covered very little in the curriculum. And actually, in a recent revision in the MCI's curriculum, in the MBBS curriculum is what I'm stressing, there is a mention of every medical graduate should have a skill in online searching and critical appraisal. There's no mention of referencing yet, but online searching and critical appraisal. And yet, it's not really got into the curriculum in the way it should be getting in. I guess there are some places where workshops are being done, but it really needs to be far deeper than this. So I recognized this need long back as a librarian, and over the years with my colleagues, I've built this up, and we hope that the impact will be a healthier population with much better research methodology and more Indian research output. How do we do the skill building? Online courses, workshops, lectures, mentoring, and more. This is our website, QMed.NGO, easy to remember. And I'd encourage you to look at the Learn With Us section. And at the end, I'll tell you a little about the online courses that we have. So coming back to the topic, when do we need to do referencing and literature searching? Everybody knows that during the PG thesis, right from the protocol time, right up to the full thesis, it is an integral activity. Similarly, for every academician writing articles, book chapters, or presenting in conferences, at those times, people are doing searching and referencing. But it's also important to know that in practice, it is a very important element because one has to stay updated and one has to ensure evidence-based care for patients. Why? Why do we need to do these activities in research? First, to know what has already been done so you don't waste time duplicating your research. And when you write, you have to reference whatever you have read somewhere and you are quoting in your paper, because you have to give credit to previous researchers. Whatever you've done, if somebody else cites it, they'll give you credit. That's a continuous practice. Why do we need to do all this in practice, in medical practice? To stay updated, as I said earlier. And very importantly today, it is to learn how to find the best available current evidence of what works or what doesn't work. So just to give an example, if there's a new drug somewhere, instead of an old drug, if that's the recommendation, it's important to know how well it has worked in a very large population. And so to find out some publication which gives you that evidence is an art, and that is something that every practitioner has to know. Also, one has to store details of whatever one has read, articles, reports, website, etc., for future use. The future use could be research paper writing, which we just talked about. It could be for conference presentations, and interestingly, in today's date, providing evidence in case of legal suits. So searching and referencing are two sides of a coin. You're searching, getting something, and you're using it later in your publications or presentations, etc. So searching is finding literature either for a publication or in your medical practice. Referencing is referencing whatever literature you have read when writing a publication, maybe defending your viva, sometimes, unfortunately, defending in court as well. But be prepared with whatever is the best evidence and say that you have treated your patient with the best evidence. That's a very, very important thing to do. So let's start with referencing. In a publication, there are two steps for the whole activity of referencing. The first is to cite in short whatever you've read in the text that you're writing. The second is at the end of your whole writing, whether it's an article or thesis, to give full details in a bibliography or list of references. So let's first take the first part, in-text citation. Making a small mention to say that you've read something in another publication. So here I've taken a journal article, and if you see the introduction section, there are some numbers here. All these are in-text citations. That means the authors say that the first two sentences that they've written are covered in their reference numbers 1 and 2. Then again 2-3 sentences later, there's number 3, number 4. If you go to the end of the article, all their references are number-wise here. So whichever part a reader is reading, if they feel they want to know where did they get this from, they'll come to the reference list, look at the number, and they'll keep that in their mind for further reading. Now, I've used two terms, references, bibliography. These are both very often used, and let's see if there's any difference in them. They're used interchangeably, but there is a small difference. References are whatever you've referred to, like we just saw in this paper. Bibliography includes also recommended reading material. You may have read it, but you may not have cited it in the paper, but you still want to recommend it to others. What are the elements which have to go into references? What all do you need to mention? These elements in today's date are also called metadata. They're all representing the article that you read. So for books, metadata for any book is the book's author or editor or a group of them, the title of the book, the edition if it is not the first edition, the place or city of publication, publisher, year of publication. So here's an example. I've listed a number of editors. Then Harrison's Principles of Internal Medicine is the name of the book. It's the 18th edition. City of publication is New York. Publisher is McGraw-Hill. And year of publication is 2012. Journal articles, author or authors, title, journal name, year, volume, issue, page numbers. So example is here. I put 3 authors. Then there's the title of the article. Lancet is the journal. 2013 is the year, 382. Volume number, 9895 is the issue number. 900 to 911 are the page numbers. The punctuation in between, after 2013 there's a semicolon, after 9895 there's a colon. All these are part of this entire correct citation, reference writing. Website pages, author or organization whose website it is, the title of the page, in square brackets the word internet, website name or title, year published, date accessed, and available from which URL. Why year published and date accessed? The year published could be the year in which the website has been most recently updated or generally published. The date accessed is the date on which you access the page. And this is important because we all know website pages change now and then. So on the date you accessed it, you need to note that down and you're going to reference that. A friend of mine, Dr. Ajay Kumar, who works with the union, which does a lot of work in tuberculosis area, he gives this additional tip that save a screenshot of the page on the day on which you access it. So that if somebody says, no, I don't think there was anything like that, you can show that screenshot. So that's an additional tip. So here is an example of a website page reference. So there's the author, there's the title of the page, the word internet, the source, year, the date cited and available from here. So referencing styles, very broadly there are 2 styles, the numbered style which we just saw in the journal article, There's another style called the author year style. So numbered style, as I also just showed you there, I've just taken partial sentence to make this example. Suppose you're writing, it is well known that anesthetic agents something something. Then you have the number 1. Then in India, we have the following issues as well, 2. The corresponding references are Agarwal, etc. and Akerkar, etc. Now, suppose in the first article, Gupte was the first author. Even then, the order in which these references come is the same. 1 is this one, 2 is this one. It comes exactly in the order of these numbers. Author year, I've taken the same thing, but referenced it differently now. So here, after the first sentence comes the author's name and the year. Second sentence, author's name and the year. Now, suppose this Agarwal instead, as I said, was Gupte as the first author, then Agarwal would not be the first reference, Akerkar would be first, Gupte would be second. Here, because it is alphabetically Agarwal and then Akerkar, it comes in this order. So this is the way these references have to be listed at the end, completely alphabetically. Why is this? A reader, while reading, sees Agarwal and obviously will go to the top of the reference list. And so the references have to be arranged alphabetically. So these are two broad styles, but for each of these styles, there are several referencing styles, specific referencing ones. The two broad styles and their use, the numbered style, the very well-known one is Vancouver. The author year style, the very well-known one is Harvard. There are lots and lots and lots of referencing styles. Vancouver alone, there are about 20 variations. So in some, they'll say bold the journal name, some they'll say make it in italics and so on. So this is another interesting time when Dr. Ajay Kumar, when we did a workshop together for participants, he said, I think we should all petition for one single style so that people have, it's all about citing what you have read and about helping your reader find the articles. The same style could help everybody. Anyway, we don't know when that will come. Till then, we need to follow any of these styles. So different journals adopt different styles as their standard, and sometimes they could be even very, very super specific. That happens. But usually, whichever style they adopt, in their instructions to author page in their journal website or in the print journal, every item will be clearly listed. If it's a journal article, how do they want it? If it's if it's a book, how do they want it? Everything will be clearly listed. So if you're submitting an article to a journal, please look up their instructions to authors and see that you keep your citations and references exactly like that. Another good practice that I recommend is, anytime you're reading a good article or a book, make it a point to note down these metadata details, because you never know when you may want to cite that article somewhere else. Today, the recommendation is you should use a reference manager or a reference management software. And interestingly, in the days when I was, studying and more, we didn't have computers at all, forget anything else. So researchers used 5x3 cards. So every author would come on top, then the rest of the details, and people would store these cards alphabetically so that anytime they wanted, they could check it out. Today, a reference manager makes it all much easier. If you've forgotten the author name, you could search by a keyword or something and find the article pretty easily. What is a reference manager? It's a software or an app that you can download. You can populate a reference manager with metadata of journal articles, books, websites, and a whole lot of information resources. Popular reference managers are Mendeley, Zotero. Both these are free. You just need to find them and download them. Another one which is very popular is EndNote. This is a paid software and obviously will have some more features, but as beginners, Mendeley and Zotero are both very good. People prefer each one for different reasons. There's always something which is better in one and not so good in another, but You can discuss with peers and decide. Start with anyone, it really doesn't matter. So in reference managers, I'm going to just quickly tell you what you can do, and then I'll tell you how you can learn more about these. So you can type in metadata entries about a book, journal, etc. manually. You need to do this very rarely. Maybe if you found one ancient book which is not mentioned anywhere on the internet, which is very unlikely these days. But if you do and you read it and you want to recommend it somewhere in a bibliography list or you want to reference it, you'll have to type the details of the author, title, etc. in the reference manager. You can add PDFs that you've done directly to the reference manager, and the reference manager will automatically extract the metadata. And if you do web browsing or searching a database like PubMed, you can import large number of results directly into reference managers. So just imagine the time you save compared to our generation, which wrote down with pen and paper on a catalog card, on a 5x3 card. So today, a lot of this is in a jiffy, except for the time you need to invest in learning how to use one. It takes a little bit of time, but it's certainly not rocket science, something which you must invest and learn for your entire career. You can also organize your collection into folders. You can export your collections to share it with somebody else. And while you write your article or thesis, you can insert citations as you need to. When you're writing, parallelly, if you wish, you can insert your citations. You can do it at the end, but at any time, you can do that. The bibliography list gets generated with just a single click. You don't have to do any laborious typing. This is the beauty of a reference manager. I'll again strongly recommend download Mendeley or Zotero and start learning to use them. Each of those websites has learning tutorials. YouTube has several tutorials.